the Lotus Emeya. So this is basically a first of its kind for Lotus. It's a big grand touring 4-door coupe, certainly a unique model for Lotus in terms of being fully electric as well. So firstly, on country roads, this is a very poor surface. You've got little patchwork and potholes everywhere, and yeah, the suspension is absolutely perfect. It really does a good job of absorbing the bumps while still providing a good sporty braced feel on the road. It's very quiet, obviously, so it's got a luxury undertone as well. You can go for a nice big cruise in this and you won't feel fatigued or anything like that, like you would, or sometimes would, in a more dedicated sports car with a noisy engine intruding the cabin sort of ambience. Build quality and fit and finish in here is beautiful. There's leather everywhere, or soft Alcantara style trim. The steering wheel is really nice. The only thing I kind of don't like is this massive touchscreen. I mean, the graphics and everything are really nice, but I think it's just a bit too big, and all of the functions are in here. So if you want to play around with the air conditioning and so on, you've got to go into that screen. I'll get to more of that in a second though, because right now we're on a very poor surface, and yeah, as you can see, it's just gliding over really nicely for a kind of, you know, high-end sports car type of vehicle. But yeah, if you want to play around with the climate control, you've got to hit the temperature there, and it pops up with all your climate options. You can turn the aircon on or off, automatic recirculation, or you can toggle through to have fresh air or force recirculation, and change the fan speed down here. And as you can see, I'm tossing between focusing on the road and the touchscreen. I mean, you do get used to, or you would get used to, where the buttons are and things, so you wouldn't have to look around as much. If you're in that climate setting, you know the aircon button is there, so you're not going to be looking around for it. But still, I find it a little bit distracting having to fiddle around with a screen like that. It does have Apple CarPlay, so you can present all of your apps in a sort of more traditional or typical layout, and it just takes up the whole screen. You've got a lot of color there, obviously. Fortunately, you can turn the brightness down quite a bit. So a lot of these modern vehicles, you can just use that. A lot of these modern vehicles with big display screens, you drive them at night time and it's just far too bright. I know I'm getting pretty old, but I just feel like some of them, you just can't turn the brightness down enough. I don't know about you, but I don't like lights in the cabin when it's fully dark outside. I just want to concentrate on the road. Whereas this, yeah, you can turn it right down, and there's a color strip that runs along all the way across the dash there. It's in green at the moment. You can actually change the color, but you can also turn that right down and turn it off if you want to. It feels very nice to drive on country roads like this, luxurious. You know, you feel like you're driving an expensive vehicle. You can't confuse this for a typical sedan. It definitely feels very different. It's got that solid planted feeling on the road even when you're just cruising along. Part of that is because it is actually very heavy. Underneath is the SEA, or Sustainable Experience Architecture, or based on that platform, which has been developed by Geely or Zeekr, which are the parent company to Lotus, based in China. It's a premium version of that platform, also shared with the Lotus Electra SUV. Even though it is a modern platform, it's still very heavy. So this weighs around 2.5 tons, which is very un-Lotus-like, really. Does that mean it's not a real Lotus? Well, let's check out how it handles on a nice tight winding road and see. We've got 450 kilowatts to play with, which is obviously a massive amount of power, but the power to weight ratio is not extraordinary, considering, yeah, it's 2.5 tons, 450 kilowatts. Bit of a stick on the road there. It definitely feels fast though. It doesn't feel like a you know, a Grand Tourer. It feels more like a super sports car in terms of the throttle response and acceleration. Full power, tugging for a grip there on the greasy road today. It's hard to showcase the acceleration on camera because there's no engine noise, so that's full throttle, whereas on camera, I mean, I'm experiencing quite a bit of G in terms of longitudinal G as well, whereas on camera you don't see that. But yeah, it's definitely very quick, and like the Electra, it builds speed gradually. It doesn't have instant low down response like some EVs, like full throttle now, and it picks up immediately, but then it builds more speed as the car accelerates along. So it's kind of good in a way, because it's more like a petrol engine where it's got progressive acceleration. It doesn't just instantly hit you in the back. This is the mid-level S model though, so the R with 900 horsepower might feel a little bit different, and you know, understandably, if that's the kind of thing you want, then the R is probably what you'll buy. But the S is, yeah, more of a very fast but traditional kind of feel. As for the handling, I like the steering. I love the suspension. It just really does a good job of providing all the feedback that I need, but it's not too firm, even in the sport mode. I know what the front wheels are doing. I can feel plenty of communication coming through. Down that downhill corner, it always puts a lot of pressure on the outside wheel, but that handled very well. Yeah, it definitely feels like a sports car. It doesn't feel like a Grand Tourer at all. The only sort of problem, I guess, it's not really a problem, but it's pretty much all EVs face the same issue, that there's no noise. So you don't have that dimension of excitement and feedback as well. Full power around there. I just gave it just pretty much at the apex, full throttle, just to see how it would handle, and the all-wheel drive system is able to very quickly figure out where to send the most power. So that's a good thing about EVs. They've got fully adaptive power distribution, whereas, you know, an petrol vehicle has got to use a differential and all that. Then you've got a bit of slack, as you probably would in this as well, with the drive shafts. You know, there's the motor, and then where the actual wheel hub is, there's going to be a tiny bit of slack pretty much in any vehicle. But this just has to worry about that. That's it. You don't have to worry about any of the gearbox slack really, because the electric motors are at the axles. So you've just got that direct power straight through to the wheels. But yeah, the distribution of the power is amazing. It just can figure it out, and it's delivered before you know it, and you're around the corner. It's almost uneventful the way this thing can just go around corners at speed and with no fuss. In theory, that should be more exciting, but somehow it's just not as exciting, in my opinion, compared with a petrol engine that might be a bit slower. I don't know. I think that's just something that I have to adjust to. And people that, you know, like the older school setups, that we're just going to have to adjust to. I don't like the way you can't engage any sort of gears as well. It's just smoothly going along. I mean, you can use the paddle shifters for the regen, so that is good. It gives you a level of interaction, so you can come into a corner and blip up the, hit the top paddle to give you that more aggressive regen, and then as you're going along the straights, you can toggle through to the weakest regen setting if you like. Not quite the same as a gearbox, but you know, there's still some level of interaction and engagement there. As an EV, I think Lotus has done a very good job. This feels, as I said, very sporty. It feels more like a sports car than it does a Grand Tourer, even though it offers pretty much the same level of capability as a Grand Tourer as well. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, because you've got that speed and acceleration, but as well as comfort and cruising nature. Yeah, awesome G-forces around that corner. It probably doesn't look like it on camera, but I'm holding myself upright as I'm being flung around there, and it's just total grip all the way around, even with the pedal down about 50%. The capability is definitely here. Just a bit of excitement, I think, is missing. But as I said, that is a bit of a personal problem, just because I've grown up with petrol vehicles, and that's how I relate to it. But if you're a new generation buyer, then you're not going to know any difference. So that's probably not going to be a problem for you. Overall, I think this is going to appeal to those who want something very unique and exclusive. The design is really out there. It looks like a concept car. I love all the holes and cuttings and all the aerodynamic features. But yeah, it definitely stands out as something very, very exclusive. Also, the attention to detail in here is amazing. Like, it's got carbon fiber around the center console. It's even got double glazed windows for absolute silence and comfort. And the huge sunroof is like something out of James Bond, and you can close off, well, not close off, but shut off certain sections and make them opaque at the touch of a button, or you can just, yeah, shut the whole thing off or make it all like a cloud. It would be nice to have a full block-out shutter as well though, because on hot summer days in Australia, that's just going to bring in a lot of heat to the cabin if you're parked outside all day and gone to the beach or whatever, which means you get back to the vehicle and you're going to be cranking that air conditioning. Seating space in the back is excellent. The seat actually sinks right backwards behind the C-pillar, so you've got heaps of leg room. Boot space is okay, but if you really want maximum boot space, you need the Electra, because the tailgate swoops right down. It's almost horizontal. All right, let's head out now to the private road and do some performance testing and see what it goes like. Just keep in mind, the battery level here says 57%. What you see on camera is not what I actually timed it at. Especially with EVs, I usually do the V-Box testing straight away. So while I've got maximum battery, and I think it was around 88% or 90%, and then I went and put the camera on and did some runs. Because unfortunately I can't have 100% battery. There's no power points out in the bush.